Hey all, here are OS Reviews. Today we're taking a hands-on look at the KeyMove SnowFox. This is a compact 61-key mechanical keyboard that's also wireless using Bluetooth 5.1. You can connect it to any smartphone, any Windows or Mac computer, and has a fairly clean design. You can get it in either colors of black or white, and even customize the switches, which are from Gateron, and you can choose red, blue, brown, silver, as well as black. So they will give you variable levels of sound. It uses Type-C also to charge a 3000 milliamp hour capacity battery, which is larger, by the way, than the majority of wireless keyboards, which come at around 1000 milliamp hours, such as the previous DK66 that we saw about last year that has a similar size and also Bluetooth function, but that one has, again, about a third of the battery capacity. So this thing should last for quite a while. Custom settings can even be set up using a companion app on the computer if you want to further decorate either the colors or even some combinations of how they react. The keyboard, by the way, sells for under $80, which I think is pretty competitive for a wireless model that looks really clean. 60% the size of a full-size keyboard that has a numpad, so they've been able to reduce the frame and just make it a bit more compact. And then we do have, again, the version here, the DK61. So in here we have, of course, the keyboard itself. It's a quick user guide that is telling us how to set things up for this SnowFox keyboard. And we also have some keycap holders, as well as a remover even for the switches underneath, which goes one level deeper than most other mechanical keyboards I've seen. So this is the place where if you don't like the aforementioned red switches in this version, you can also go into switching it to a different colored switch, although by default you only get one of the other switches included, really just as a sample. So right now, for example, we see this green switch, which if you're pressing on, you can hear is a pretty clicky, versus the white as well as the red that we have here are a lot more quiet, requires even less pressure to actuate versus the red. And then again, the green or blue is going to be the loudest. So even the switches here are modular and can be swapped around, which is pretty cool. We also have a USB Type-C charging and data cable. Closer look at the SnowFox keyboard. The frame is constructed out of a polycarbonate plastic, so it's not really made out of metal, but still feels relatively solid and rigid. The profile isn't raised too much, so it still should be easy enough to put into a sleeve or backpack when you're traveling. And it's reasonably lightweight, but again, doesn't feel flimsy or cheap either. On the back, there is a safety switch that you can tap on to turn it on or off, and when you flick it on by default, it will start off in the RGB modes. You can also switch between Windows or Mac OS connection settings, and there is the Type-C port here on the edge. Finally, on the back, we do have the KeyMove logo, along with some soft touch rubber feet that prevents it from sliding around, and you can further elevate the positioning by popping these open, and it will pop it up at a higher angle when you're typing. Here's a quick size comparison with an average smartphone these days that has about a 6.5-inch display. So this thing is pretty small, as you can see there. Closer look at the different lighting modes next. If we slightly dim the lights, in fact, the RGB mode becomes even more apparent. You can tap on the function key and the top slash button here to go through the different lighting effects. So the one here is going to be gently breathing into different colors one at a time, and it also looks quite good. Windows key by default is highlighted to be red. And we can also tap on it again into another one, which is more of a smooth transition, but all the colors will be consistent when being displayed versus that previous wave pattern that we saw. Also looks quite good. And then here is kind of a randomized, almost like a candy mode, but all the lights will turn on at random intervals and looks quite good as a display pattern, but maybe not the most practical if you're trying to find the keys in the dark. But looks good. We can also try again, and this will go into another kind of ripple effect, slowly going to the center and then changing colors from there, as you can see, in a slightly more randomized spiral pattern. Change it again, and it will go into this kind of falling pattern that is completely green. Reminds me of maybe a sci-fi or Code, something out of the Matrix, in fact. The lighting is pretty consistent as well, so even from different edges and angles, it all looks quite good and doesn't bleed or produce too much excess lights aside from the keycaps that you're looking at. And when you're pressing down, again, it creates that line that is reactive. And then once more, we'll go into another reactive mode that is going to flick across in this kind of cross pattern based on what you're pressing. As you can see there, that entire row and column will all be flashing a memory mode. So if I tap on certain keys, it will turn blue or a certain color for a few seconds before eventually fading away. So it will give you that trail effect, but what's interesting here is everything else is still lit at the same time. So it's kind of an evolved version of this memory mode where on previous keyboards everything was completely dark until you started to type on it, versus on here it only lasts until it goes back into this yellow or white light, which I actually do prefer here because you can at least still see everything in the dark but still get this pretty interesting effect when you're typing on it. And then tapping on it again will give you a ripple effect. So if I tap on a certain key, things will splinter outwards and go to a different color. You can also press on two at the same time, and this will go to the left. This one goes to the right, and they can kind of fight between each other, between the red and the yellow, which is also a pretty cool effect, I have to say. So all of these transitions are a bit more customized and different from the previous mechanical keyboards we've seen. So it shows a bit more of attention to detail, and it's not just the same ones in terms of the RGB lighting modes that we've been seeing for a while now. This one here will give us another ripple, but only in the circumference of a small kind of circle or explosion before it restarts again. And depending on the region that you're pressing on, it changes different colors, which is pretty cool. Tap on it again, and now it will go into this dedicated gaming mode with the ASDW keys highlighted. So if you're trying to play a game, let's say Counter-Strike, you can always react to those particular keys. And again, it will just turn to a singular color, which is just fully red, a very dramatic look in this case. And then it will then go back to the previous wave that we started off at. Of course, if you don't like these RGB effects, or if you want to conserve on power, you can also turn everything completely off by tapping on the backspace key with function, and then it will just be as a regular keyboard, more or less. Now, because this is a compact keyboard, certain things are going to be truncated where a single key may do multiple actions, and that's why we tapped on function and the keys here basically in blue to command the things like transition effects. But if you want to tap on these side buttons, you can also change things like the brightness, make it brighter or dimmer just by also pressing function up or function down on the P and the kind of parentheses buttons, as well as the transition speed. You can make faster or slower, and same thing goes with media controls. You can tap on function and the F, G, H keys to do things like volume adjustment, skip tracks if you're on a Windows or Mac OS computer. And also function Z, X, and C will allow us to change and pair to 3 different Bluetooth devices. So you can switch between your devices at a click of a key, for example, between a phone, between a tablet, and a computer. Very satisfying when it comes to typing. You don't have to exert quite as much force as on a traditional Island, Chiclet, or a membrane keyboard. And you get all the benefits, including just a bit more of sensation as confirmation, as well as the longevity of a mechanical keyboard. It works for millions and millions of keystrokes compared to membrane, which is going to wear out faster. So that's what makes these so much more recommended when it comes to folks that are doing a lot of typing. So overall, again, pretty comfortable and easy to use. There's no sticking or anything like that. I can also just continue to type along, writing things out, and they come up pretty much instantly when you're typing on the keyboard. Again, thanks to the usage of Bluetooth 5.1. Enjoyable whether it's for gaming, for typing out documents, emails, and the like. So that is more or less it as far as our quick hands-on look at the KeyMove SnowFox 61 key mechanical keyboard. Again, a pretty decent option if you're looking for one that has plenty of customization, including the switches, the RGB effects, but also in a compact frame, and one that has the wireless capability if you need it. So this can be just very versatile. If you're interested, you can check out more details in the links down below. For now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the KeyMove SnowFox mechanical keyboard.